And then I remember everything just going pitch black. I'm not sure how long it was because in my mind it was just black. Everything was black. And I woke up in a hallway, standing. And it was the hospital hallway. And I was calling, hello, hello. And you could hear an echo, but nobody was responding. All the hospital doors were closed, and the hallway just kept getting longer and longer. So I followed it the longer that it got, and I came to an area that had a light. And I saw that light, and I said, maybe I should go into that light. Maybe somebody's over there. Maybe somebody will respond there. And I walked into that light, and at that moment, I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I heard, "It's okay." And I turned the corner, and I saw myself laying on the hospital bed.
Thank you so much for joining me on the next episode of Let Thy Single Eye Be Still. My name is Travis Cosentino, and with me today is Jamesy McRoberts. She had a near-death experience back in 2011, and this is her story. Hi, Jamesy. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for coming on to my show. I'm really excited to hear your story. But I wanted to just ask you, this happened back in 2011, your near-death experience. What was your life like before then?
It was extraordinary. It was peaceful. It was calm. Um, I enjoyed living life to its fullest, and I didn't have much to worry about before then. I wasn't a member of the Jesus Christ community. I didn't follow God, but I knew about him, and I had questions about him. I just didn't know if he was going to be a part of my life at that point.
So would you say you were maybe like atheist, or were you still spiritual?
I was very much spiritual. I just didn't know much about God. I grew up agnostic with an agnostic family, and it wasn't just something that they introduced us to or we discovered. And so if I wanted to find out, I had to find out on my own.
Right on. And like, what was your life like growing up as a kid?
It was difficult at times. I was bullied quite a bit, and I suffered with a rare type of epilepsy, and treatment was very hard to find where I grew up. I grew up in a small island in Hawaii.
Let's go ahead and go into the experience. So what led up to the near-death experience?
So my epilepsy went away at the age of 16, and it came back at the age of 21. Um, and when it came back, doctors were trying to figure out what was going on. They didn't think it was epilepsy because of the rare type that it is. It doesn't present itself as convulsive. They're more like staring spells or behavioral outbursts or things like that. Um, and so when I went to the neurologist, they told me they'll do the test, but they didn't want me to get my hopes up. And if the test came back negative, I had to promise them I would seek treatment somewhere else. I agreed, and I did the test. And a couple days later, after the test was read, they called me and they apologized, and they said, "We're so sorry, we didn't believe you. You do, in fact, have epilepsy, and we're going to put you on a medication." Um, at that point, they put me on the medication Lamictal, and they told me, "We are going to let you know that this can cause a very rare allergic reaction that is fatal, but it's so rare that it probably won't even happen to you." And I said, okay. I believed them, and I took the medication, and that's what started the journey.
This is an all too common thing I hear. They gave me
Yes.
medicine and it killed me.
We lay our trust into too many hands. It's so
That's
true.
unfortunate, but I mean, you had an amazing experience and you came back. Obviously, it wasn't your time, so
Yeah.
let's hear. So, you have this allergic reaction. What's going through your mind?
I was scared. At the time, I worked as an EMT basic. I had never heard of this condition in my life. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I was going to be experiencing. With my type of epilepsy, as with most types of epilepsy, um, I dealt with anxiety from it. And so alone, I was having anxiety because I was having seizures, but I was also now having anxiety because this unknown reaction is happening to me. Doctors are misdiagnosing me. I'm going from doctor to doctor. I'm not feeling well. My condition's worsening, and I could not get help. And um, it almost seemed impossible. Like I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd be terrified.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so
So,
you had this allergic reaction, and so how did you die? Like, what happened in the body that you know you jumped out? What happened?
so, with Steven Johnson syndrome, your body burns itself from the inside out. And these are worse than any kind of third degree burns you can think of. These are fourth degree burns, which are a type of burns that most people don't think about because they actually are the ones that hit the organs. So my kidney was failing, my liver was failing, and my heart had been burnt. And at this point, there was no life-saving measures that the doctors could do. I stopped eating. They had feeding tubes. I was on oxygen, could not breathe on my own. And the doctors at one point said, there's nothing more we can give you. The pain meds aren't working. You're in too much pain. Your heart is crashing. Your family's going to have to come say their goodbyes. They called my family up. They told them to come say their goodbyes. It was that time where I accepted, okay, this is it. I'm not coming out of this hospital alive. And that was very hard. That was very hard to admit to yourself, and to come to terms with. But I was in so much pain that I almost didn't care what happened as long as I got rid of the pain. And then I remember everything just going pitch black. I'm not sure how long it was, um, because in my mind, it was just black. Everything was black. And I woke up in a hallway, standing. And it was the hospital hallway. And I was calling, hello, hello. And you could hear an echo, but nobody was responding. All the hospital doors were closed, and the hallway just kept getting longer and longer. So I followed it the longer that it got, and I came to an area that had a light. And I saw that light, and I said, maybe I should go into that light. Maybe somebody's over there. Maybe somebody will respond there. And I walked into that light. And at that moment, I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I heard, it's okay. And I turned the corner, and I saw myself laying on the hospital bed with all the tubes, with every single piece of oxygen, all the machines going off, nobody else around me, just me. And for
Hmm.
the very first time, I could no longer feel the pain. Moments later, I just gasped for air. I saw my body gasp for air, and I was pulled away. And I was waking up, and the doctors were rushing in, nurses were rushing in. They were completely surprised because all of a sudden, all my vitals were a complete 180 from what they were seconds ago. No
Wow.
explanation. To this day, they can't explain it. So
Wow. That's amazing. Who do you think that person was that had their hand on your shoulder?
I think it was God. I didn't believe in God at the time. So, obviously I thought maybe I was just dreaming during this time. Um, but I couldn't explain how I went from death to leaving the hospital in 3 days. That made no sense to me. I was
Right.
completely 100% better to the point where I could be treated outpatient for another 4 more months. Um, and I struggled for quite a bit afterwards. I was very angry. Why did I survive? Why am I okay? I talked to a bunch of people about things. Never told them my experience or my dream because in my head, again, it was just a dream. Didn't really mean anything. But in my head, I could also still remember every single detail and the feelings that I felt. When you, for instance, if you go to the hospital and you have a broken arm and you're feeling immense pain from that broken arm, and the moment that they gave you those pain meds, suddenly you don't feel those pain meds, you're just kind of feeling floaty all over. You get that pain taken away, but without that floating sensation. It's like your whole entire body has come to the calmest that you have ever been in your entire life. I can't tell you the amount of peace that I felt the moment that pain was lifted. My body felt like it wasn't heavy anymore. It didn't feel like I was carrying myself. And it felt as if there was no other emotion besides joy and happiness.
Wow. That's
And
beautiful.
to live like that wasn't the life that I necessarily have always had and still have experienced, because, you know, we all experience emotions. But in that moment in time, there was no emotion to be felt besides comfort, peace, joy, and happiness.
That's beautiful. I love that. I'm curious, sometimes when people come back from their near-death experiences, they don't remember everything. Did you start to get memories of that experience that you didn't remember when you first woke up?
When I first woke up, I don't remember that I was actually seeing myself laying in that hospital bed. It probably wasn't until about 2 weeks later I started having recalls of what had happened, where I would just be walking down like a hallway in my house, and suddenly everything went white, and I could remember that voice. I could remember seeing myself. I could remember everything. And I don't think the full details finally hit until about a week later. Um, and then it just was like, I remember seeing myself. Why could I see myself? And I could remember the placement of where the flowers were. I could remember the placement of the chairs and the letters and everything. No one was in the hospital with me. It was just me. But I remember everything in that room and how it was set up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you share any of those details with any friends or family?
Over the years, yes, I have. Um, when I first shared it, it was with a counselor, and they told me, you know, that wasn't just a happening that happened. You know that
Hmm.
God was watching you, right? And I said, what do you mean? I don't believe in God. I don't go to church. I don't do anything. And they're like, I think you need to dive further into the meaning of what had happened. And it was at that point that I started to look into going to churches. And I knew what it was the moment I first stepped foot into a church, because that same peace that I felt when I looked at myself in that bed was that peace that I felt the moment I stepped foot into a church. And I still feel to this day. So I know it was him.
I know what you're talking about. There is a wonderful energy when you walk into a church that you can't deny it. You
No.
can feel the love. You can feel just the oneness that we all have in being in a church. Not all of them, but there are some very good ones. You can definitely feel the energy. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
That's really cool. So what has God to you now that you've had this experience?
I take everything in bits and pieces of thankfulness. Um, Anything can go wrong in life, but there's something to be thankful for. At the time, I was an EMT basic. I didn't know where I was going to go into life. And I knew afterwards that I wanted to help people. I wanted to become a doctor. I wanted to help find a cure for this disease. I wanted to help millions who either survived this or had family members who passed away from this. And that's when I created a Stephen Johnson support group on Facebook. And I created my program of what I call Everyday Fit Life, because I wanted people to know that they're not alone. You know, we often feel so hopeless at times, whether it's a medical condition, a mental health condition, whether it's, you know, I'm failing at this part of life, or I'm failing at my job, or I'm failing at school. There's moments in our life where we just feel completely helpless. But with God, that helps pull us through. I don't believe that I should ever push my religion onto anybody else, because everybody's religion is going to be different. But there's one thing that's true among all religions, is that there's a God, and that God is so powerful. And he's here to carry us at our hardest times, and we just have to let that happen, because we can't do it ourselves. And even a doctor can't do it. You know, my doctors gave up. They said there's nothing more we could do. You know, and if a doctor couldn't do it, the only person that could was God, and he did.
That's right. Ask and you shall seek and you shall find.
Yeah. And even if you're not seeking, because I wasn't praying at that point, I had accepted I'm going to die. Don't know what's going to happen after I die. I wasn't praying. I didn't go and seek energy from anybody else or anything. I just laid in that bed and said, I want the pain to be gone. And it was gone. And there was no explanation. They don't know how I turned around. Most people with my condition who do survive, they end up going blind. And these are the things that the doctors told me. They said, you're going to go blind. You're not going to be able to hear. You're going to have to be on Social Security for the rest of your life. You won't be able to walk, and you will have scars for the rest of your life.
They told you that?
They told me that.
Couldn't they just say this could happen rather than saying this is what's gonna happen? I mean,
With the
come
immense
on.
amount of damage that I was walking out with, it was almost hard to believe that anything other than that could come through with it. Coming from a medical perspective, I work in the medical field. You see someone with burns, you're going to tell them they're going to have scarring from it. It's almost inevitable. You see someone who has had damage to their optic nerve and cannot see color anymore, your eyes are going to just get worse over time. You know, these are things that doctors know they can't reverse on their own. There's nothing that they can do. Of course they can't, because it's not them that's going to do it. It's God. And God pulled through. I have one scar on my entire body, and it wasn't from that condition. It was post that condition. I have forever nerve damage. I can't feel the difference between hot and cold. And I burned myself because of that. And that is the only scar that I ever had from a burn.
Wow.
My vision finally came back years later, after years of it constantly going full out black. And I finally don't have to go to the eye doctor as much as I was. I was going almost weekly, trying to figure out what was going on with my vision. It was painful. That's all gone. You know, and I had developed a heart condition where my heart stops every couple of seconds.
Okay, that's terrifying.
It is terrifying. And the name of it is actually called a winky box. So my heart skips a beat and it stops. And then it restarts itself. And so you could feel it. And when it first happened, I was like, what's going on? I'm too young to have heart problems. I'm healthy. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't do anything. What's going on? And that condition has almost nearly gone away. Like, I don't feel it at all. They barely ever find it on EKGs when they do them. They said if they do find it, it's very rare. So I'm blessed for that. My kidney levels have come back to normal. My
How's your
liver
diet?
levels have. So when I go and see the doctors who saved my life, when I go and I talk to the hospital who gave up on me and the doctors who gave up on me, they all look at me and they say, it's a miracle. You are not like the others. we can't describe why this has happened. It's almost as if it never happened to you, but it did, and we witnessed it.
You're like an
And
anomaly to them.
yeah, and I have this one doctor, Roy Colvin at Harborview Dermatology in Seattle, Washington, an amazing doctor. He took on my case after I was discharged from the hospital because I was still having flare ups. I was still experiencing these burns. I was at my lowest of lows.
Hmm.
There's times that I wanted to die. I did not want to be alive. I did not want to be experiencing this pain. Roy Colvin took me in. He did every study he could possibly do to figure out, why is this happening to you? How can I help you? My insurance did not get covered by him. I had thousands and thousands of dollars of bills, and Roy Colvin wrote it off.
Wow.
And he has supported me on my journey to wanting to become a doctor.
Hmm.
He has supported me on my journey to working in the medical field, to helping other Stephen Johnson syndrome survivors, to sharing um, awareness about what Stephen Johnson syndrome is. And when I say that Roy Colvin saved me, I don't mean that he was in the hospital when I was in the hospital and he turned me around. No, he saved me because he brought hope back to me. He was the one that guided me to become courageous enough to believe that I had a reason that I was still here. And
That's
that's why he saved me.
I love that. And who is this guy to you?
He is the doctor that took on my case outpatient. So
Okay.
after I was out of the hospital.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And so are you a doctor now?
Nope. I actually finished my undergrad. I have about 2 years left, which means I have to go to the PA school and I have to do the didactic phase, and then I do the clinical phase, and then I will graduate.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you're on your way.
I'm right there, and I never thought this would be the life that I was going to live. I wanted to be a dolphin trainer.
You want to be a dolphin trainer?
I did.
That's cool. Right on. Well, what
Yes,
a change, huh?
absolutely.
Just had to
Um,
die. No big deal.
I had to die. And I really believe this is my true calling, helping people in the medical field.
So I'm just looking this up really quick. So you said it's epilepsy, right?
Yes. So
And
what I
that's
have,
that's like seizures, right?
yes, I have a rare condition called frontal lobe epilepsy. And actually, I now have what's called an internal pacemaker of the brain. And that's why my voice goes in and out every 5 minutes. Is it's actually electrocuting my vocal cords, going up a nerve into my brain to stop any seizure activity.
I really want to focus. The NDE was really cool and an amazing experience, and there wasn't a lot of detail, but I feel like the important thing is that you're now wanting to be a doctor to help other people with the very same thing that you were able to overcome. And I'm curious, like, so what are the things that you do other than like offer support? What are some of the things that you offer in terms of like maybe healing or medicine, or what does that look like?
I believe in advocating. Um, I think everyone has a sense of autonomy that they don't necessarily use in the medical field. And I wish I would have used my autonomy at that time. I was only 20, 21 years old. I was very young and didn't think my voice really mattered because who am I to talk back to a doctor who knows more than I know about my conditions, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that if I would have spoke up and said, I don't feel good on this medication, I probably never would have went through what I went through. But at the same time, I'm so grateful that I did because it led me to God. Um, and the life experience that I have had since inviting Jesus into my life and into my children's life is absolutely amazing. The amount of peace that it's brought to my world. Um, so I definitely promote autonomy and advocacy of patients. Even though I'm not their provider and I'm just taking care of them or drawing their blood, I'm there to listen to their story because they know their body more than anybody else. I understand when they say, I've given up on the treatment. I'm just going to pray it to God. And I 100% support that, because I
Yeah.
didn't pray to God, but he was still there. So I know that he
Let's
has
say
them.
I would say my experience being in emergency rooms and hospitals, it's very rare to have anybody aside from a doctor that is like that.
Yeah.
My experience, people in your position are generally very robotic and pretty removed from the human experience. So it's nice to know that at least somebody out there seems to care, you know.
Yeah. I definitely have a whole new perspective on life and the way that I think and act and who I am now. Um, I'm 100% a completely honest person inside and outside of my work life. I
Mm.
believe that peace is the ultimate goal. And although I don't think that I will ever feel that amount of peace that I feel walking into a church or when I turn that corner, um, I feel like I can help bring that type of peace bits by bit.
Mm.
I am God's child, and my duty as his child is to spread his love and to spread his joy. And that's what I do. I I don't have to be talking about God to do that. I can do that through my smiles. I can do that through my love and my empathy. I can do that through my support. Um, just to see somebody go from a sad day to a happy day means I have done something well in my life. And I
It's
truly
beautiful.
believe that's the meaning of why God saved me.
Absolutely. I mean, it wasn't your time, you know,
No.
and maybe I have actually heard many times that uh, some people who have near death experiences were supposed to have them. They were supposed to die. They were supposed to experience God, and then they were supposed to come back and change their lives and fulfill their soul's journey, the thing that they set out to do before they came here.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what that was. Just a little, hey, this is what happens when you die. you know.
I think so. And, you know, I never watched any of those movies before hearing about near death experiences. I never knew that was really a thing,
Mm.
until I started learning more about God and I became a Christian, got baptized, and then I started watching the Christian movies. And I saw a movie about a little boy who had died and he could see himself laying on that table. And I said, it's a
Mm.
true story. I don't care what anybody else says. I know that's true. I lived that. I
Yeah,
know
you experienced it.
that experience where you can see yourself. And I know that feeling. I remember when I first got admitted to the hospital, about 3 days after I got admitted, I was doing better. They were going to send me home. I went to get up out of bed, and my back had been completely ripped off. And they said, "You're not going home. You're going into ICU." So they readmitted me, and they admitted me into ICU. And I started declining very rapidly. And I remember I couldn't open my eyes very much. I couldn't see anything, and I couldn't really do much besides hear people come in and out and barely, give words to them. And I remember I heard Adam, and I was like, Adam, why am I hearing Adam's name? And I got the strength to open my eyes, and I looked around the bedroom, and I looked around the hospital room. There's nobody in here. And I was like, who said Adam's name? Why did it feel so real? I was like, there's no way I could have been dreaming this. And it was right then that I looked up on the TV screen. My friend Adam, who was just coming home from Afghanistan, died a couple days before he was due to return to the U.S. He was killed in
Oh my
action.
gosh.
And I think for the longest time, I beat myself up saying I should have been the one to die, not him, because he's a true hero. But I really think that he was the one who sent God my way. He knew I needed God. And he knew more than anything that God was going to be there for me. And I think he's the one that told God, this is where she is. Find her, help her, guide her. And I truly believe that they're both sitting up there watching over me on a daily basis. So,
Absolutely. Wow, that's beautiful.
yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's really beautiful and moving. And how can people find you with the program that you offer?
So if they just look up Jamesy McRoberts on Facebook or Everyday Fit Life, it's F_IT. You can find me and follow me. It's linked to a bunch of my other pages, including the Stephen Johnson Syndrome support group. I recently actually had a partner of someone who is currently going through Stephen Johnson syndrome reach out to me. Um,
Mm,
and it's at those moments that I really, truly feel grateful. Um, I also saved a young man's life who would not be here today if I wasn't in the right place at the right time on Mother's Day. And
wow,
him and his family have become my family now. We are all followers of God, and we truly believe that God put me there to be there to save him. And it's those little amounts of gratitude from others. Um, believing that not only I was there, but God was there, really truly means that God needed me to be here when I was. And so
absolutely. He's
my
going to use
timing is
you.
God's timing.
Hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, is there any like parting words that you would like to say to anyone that's watching this? About your experience and maybe about God.
I would say that you don't have to believe in God to know that he's there. Um, you don't have to necessarily believe in the Bible and read the Bible on a daily basis to be saved by God. God loves each and every one of us, regardless of whether we believe in him or not. And I am that definition of that because I didn't know him. I really didn't, but he saved my life. And he told me it was going to be okay. That voice I have never heard to this day, but I can feel those hands. I can feel that peace when I talk about him, when I step into a church, and when I spread that love and joy. I can feel that. And I know what it's like to be scared. I know what it's like to give up hope. I know what it's like to want to no longer be alive and to take your own life. All I can tell you is it's all right to give up hope, but let God be the final decision factor because he truly knows what life is meant for you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for this.
You are welcome. Thank you.
I did want to talk about something I almost forgot.
Yeah,
Um, what is your stance on mediums?
I want to meet one.
Ah, okay.
um,
Well, you just did.
oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a medium.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I'm not like, I don't talk to dead people or anything like that. But I can like read into people basically. But a few years ago, I had developed a serious autoimmune disease. And I went through what you went through, where you saw doctor after doctor. Nobody knew what was wrong with you. Most of them would gaslight me and make me feel like I was crazy and that whatever was going on, I was just making it up for attention or whatever.
Happens
They
too
didn't
many
believe me.
times.
And all they wanted to do is give me antidepressants. That's their answer for everything.
It
They
has to
can't
be
figure out,
mental
here, just
health.
take this. Yeah, right. And they were basically useless. And my autoimmune was basically life threatening because it created this issue in my body where I couldn't sleep at all. So I had like life threatening insomnia, like no sleep at all for
Yeah.
days. And that can really mess you up. It can kill you. And I came across this book called Anthony William Medical Medium. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
So, Anthony William Medical Medium is a medium. He was born a medium, and he is a bit different because most mediums, when they get communication, it's like a visual communication. If we hear anything, it's usually like a telepathic. You hear it in your mind, sort of thing. but he actually hears a voice in his ear, like somebody talking into his ear. And this voice calls itself the spirit of compassion. And throughout his life, he's just always kind of been able to know everything about everything. And he used to like help mechanics fix cars that couldn't figure out what was wrong with it.
Oh, wow.
But he realized that he had a gift for understanding the complexity of food and how it affects the human body, and how our bodies, he was able to like be able to see how food what happens inside the human body from the foods that we eat. And a lot of what is going on inside the human body is just inflammation. It's neurological inflammation from toxic heavy metal poisoning and inflammation in the foods that we eat, especially in America, which is really bad food.
Oh, yes.
And so I basically started doing his protocols. You ever heard of the celery juice cleanse?
Mm-hmm.
That came from him. He's
Oh,
the one that started the celery juice cleanse. And
really?
he also has this toxic heavy metal smoothie that helps remove the metals in your brain, because and soaps and like the sun lotion and all the stuff, it's got metals in it, and it
Oh,
just
yeah.
absorbs in your skin. A lot of it goes up in your brain, and that caused the issue that I was having. In my brain, I couldn't shut things down. And so I did his detox, and in 7 days I was 100% healed.
Wow.
It works. Well, he also has a very specific chapter about seizures, specifically what you went through.
Yeah.
So I'll send you the information on what he has about that, because maybe you can learn something from that.
Yeah, I have definitely discovered that myself. For years after my condition, exiting that hospital, I had flare-ups where I would get random burns. My skin would start to slough off, and the doctors didn't know why. They would ask if I was taking that medication again, and I would tell them, no, I don't even touch it. I don't even want to go near it. I don't know what's happening. And they would put me on prednisone after prednisone. I gained so much weight from prednisone. And I could
Yeah.
not sleep with prednisone. And that was their answer for everything. And I was so tired because I was in and out of doctor's appointments. My exes were tired. My family was tired. My friends were tired because all they ever heard was, oh, I'm back in the hospital. Oh, I'm back in the hospital. When I went on an anti-inflammatory diet, that was the first time and the last time that I ever had a flare up.
Shocking, right?
It's
It's
amazing how much inflammation is hidden in our body and how much of the medical field, medicine, is cause of that.
not only that, but they're just ignoring the fact that it is inflammation to begin
Oh,
with.
yeah.
I think there's a large part of the community that just ignores it because they know that they won't make any money on that. Because if they teach you how to heal yourself, then we wouldn't need them anymore.
I also truly believe that the medical field causes a lot of mental health problems.
For sure.
Because they make everybody feel like they're crazy. They tell them, I know more than you. This isn't a problem because I can't find anything. It has to be in your head. So these people
Oh
suffer
yeah, and
silently.
they'll tell you it's your fault. They'll tell you it's your body attacking itself, which is ridiculous.
Yep.
It's not real. It's just inflammation in the body and all these things that are happening. It's just specifically Epstein-Barr, shingles virus, these viruses that stay dormant in your body.
Oh, yeah.
And when they feed on the toxins from the shit that we eat, and then they excrete, and whatever they excrete is the neurotoxin that causes whatever issues are in your body.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's true, and I'm just living proof because I was able to heal myself so quickly. And I used to have like debilitating anxiety. I would go to the hospital like 7 times a year for like
Oh,
panic
yeah.
attacks or whatever. I used to get like my arm would go numb, and I would get chest pain.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I go, and they'd be like, "There's nothing wrong with you. It's just anxiety." But I mean, what is that? It's just a word.
Yeah.
It never really ever helped me. And after so the 7 days I was healed 100%. I could sleep amazing. And then 30 days later, my anxiety was gone and never came back.
That is amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And frustrating that, today's medicine is just useless and gaslighting everybody,
I have different beliefs on the reason why. Um, Obviously, I can't answer for many people. It does frustrate me because I watch people on a daily basis suffer in silence. And I reach out to them and I say, you don't have to. I'm here to advocate for you. I'm with you on this. I will come down and we will figure it out together. I don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to be alone or that they're crazy because, oh, maybe they were diagnosed with this condition or this condition, but told nothing we can do. It's all in your head. You have to be the one to heal it. Absolutely. Do I agree with doctors when they say diet's a big part of your health? 100%. I do
Yep.
agree with that because in our society, we put toxins into our body without even knowing. 100%.
Yeah, I love the fact that you started doing that and you discovered it for yourself. You're like, oh, I'm feeling better. What the fuck,
Yeah. I
Yeah,
actually became
shocker.
100% seizure free right after I did it.
Amazing. Amazing.
And that's
Wow.
even
Did you tell your
after I
doctor
had an
that?
internal pacemaker put in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Well, what a story. What a treat to have you here. Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing my story.
Absolutely. Are you back? Did you just hear that? You were spying on me.
I'm sorry. I was like, is it joining me again? Sorry. I'll end it.
Oh my God.